Hi, welcome back, Responsibility 3 leaders, and we are here for the second part of the process skill video. Now we are done with the MCQ questions, so now let's move on to our structured questions, shall we? Okay, now so you can see over here it says a lizard is kept in a container below, and let's take a look at the diagram. So you can see that the diagram has a lizard. Okay, now you have a container which is covered with plastic sheet, and you can see that at the top it's been poked with holes. Now let's move on. What will happen to the lizard eventually if it is kept in the container for a week? Okay, so let's see, we are writing down on the underline, kept in a container for a week. Okay, that's for part A, and then now let's move on to part B. Give two reasons for your answer in A. Okay, now we know that whenever we catch some insects or we catch some living things, we put them in a container. The first thing you will want to do is to cover it because you don't want the living thing to escape from your container, right? So you can see the plastic sheet is to prevent the lizard from escaping. Okay, prevents lizard from escaping. Now, what about the holes? That's the next most common sense thing that you do, right? Many of you say that, oh, poke some holes, poke some holes. What's the point of poking holes? Well, it's to prevent the living thing from suffocating. So there must be a presence of air, correct? Okay, so now you have the air that is present in the container so that the lizard will be able to breathe. But take a look at this container. Something's missing. What do you think is missing? You have any idea? Well, if you say that, oh, I know, there's no food. Yep, you are correct. There's no food. What else? There's no, there's no what? There's no water. Yeah, you are absolutely right. So without these two things, okay, and you have only air, what do you think will happen to the poor lizard even after it's been kept there for a week? Okay, yep, you say that it will die, correct? So are you going to write down the word die just in your answer, just as the answer for A? No, you can't. So you have to write down in full sentence. So you say that the lizard will die. Poor lizard. Okay, so yep. Now, then you are asked, give two reasons for your answer in A. Why do you say that the lizard will die? So you are supposed to give two reasons. Now, remember we were told that one of the key characteristics of living thing is living things need air, food, and water. Does this sound familiar? Yeah. So can I then write down that the lizard needs air, food, and water as my answer here? Hmm. Okay, now I have some mixed answers, and some of you will say that yes, of course, why not? Some of you say no, 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 it's not right. Okay, now let me explain. So you can see that we mentioned that the lizard will die, and we point out two main reasons of why the lizard died. Because there's no food, there's no water. So if we mention this as our answer, the lizard needs air, food, and water. It doesn't make sense because there was air present in the diagram. So can you use this? No, you can't. Because if you mention it needs air, there was air inside the diagram. There was holes being poked on the plastic sheet. It allowed air to pass through and to enter. So you can't write this answer as the lizard needs air, food, and water. So the proper way to put it is the lizard needs, or rather, the lizard has no food and water. Okay, because the lizard has no food and water, therefore the lizard will die. So that is your reason for your answer in B. Okay, so please remember, when you are given this part B, they are asking you for reasons. You have to give your reason of why the lizard died in this case, because there's no food and there's no water. So you cannot write down this part. The lizard needs air, food, and water. You are supposed to put down the lizard has no food and water, therefore it died. Okay, so it requires you to take a bit of time to get used to answering questions, because you need to use your observation skills again. You need to observe. All right, so when you observe, you'll be able to make careful choices in your answer. And then as you learn and you continue to practice, you'll be able to get it sooner or later. Okay, now let's move on. And classified some living things according to the table below. And you have this table given to you. Group P, you have the cat. Group Q, you have the hibiscus. Group R, you have the mushroom. And group S, you have the yeast. So in which groups should the following organisms be placed? Now, when we mention about organisms, we are talking about living things. Okay, so remember toadstool, that's one, and two, you have bacteria. Now let's take a look at group P. Cat. Cat belongs to this main group called what? Animals. Yep, you are right. Now, and just for your information, animals do not just involve mammals. Okay, it has mammals. It also talks about insects. It also talks about birds and also fishes. Okay, so under these four main group, they come up with this group called animals. All right, now let's move on to hibiscus. So what is the main group about hibiscus? Where do they fall under? Yep, they fall under plants. What about mushroom? Starting with F. Fungi. All right, now, okay, let's move on to this group S, yeast. This is a very special organism. Okay, yeast is a fungi. Okay, but it is a microorganism. So what is microorganism? It means that you can't see with your own eyes. You need a microscope, okay, to see very clearly. So yeast is a fungi, and many students always get mixed up between fungi and bacteria. They always say that yeast is a bacteria, but yeast is not a bacteria. Yeast is a fungi, but it is a microorganism. It requires microscope to see them clearly. So we cannot put them under bacteria. So we should put them under this group called microorganisms. Okay. So having said this, toadstool. Toadstool falls under fungi. Okay. They look like mushrooms. So in this case, which group? It will be group R. And what about bacteria? Bacteria, can you see them with your own eyes? No, it's a microorganism. So if it's a microorganism, it will be under group S. Okay, good. Now let's move on. part B. Okay, now part B, you have this. Give a difference between group Q and group R. Okay, now let's take a look at group Q and group R. Now, when we say about difference, we are asking about how are they different. Okay, what is so special between these two groups? So can we say that group Q is a plant and group R is a fungi? Can we just say that? No, you can't. Okay, because they're asking you what is so different about group Q and group R. You just tell me that group Q is a plant and group R is a fungi. So what is so special about them? So what is it that makes it a plant? What makes it a fungi? You have to tell me exactly in detail. Okay, so you have to write this down. Group Q is able. Now, what do you think group Q can do? Group Q, they are a group of plants, right? So what is so special about plants that most of the other living things are not able to do? Think. Well, if you say that, I know, group Q is able to make their own food, you are right. Okay, plants are the only living things that are able to make their own food. Now, then you have to compare, right? This is definitely a comparison question. So when you compare, you also have to mention about group R. Okay, so group Q is able to make their own food, but group R, now how do group R manage to survive? Okay, group R uh, feeds on living and non, or rather on dead things for food. Okay, so it's only when you mention that group Q is able to make their own food, but group R feeds on living and dead things for food, you are writing about the difference. You are also comparing about what is so special about these two different groups. So if you mention that group Q is a plant and group R is a fungi, it is not good enough because you're just telling me about the group. Okay, so I'm asking, if let's say for example, why do you like mango instead of apple? And you just tell me, oh, because mango has one seed and then apple has a few seeds. You're not answering the question. I'm asking you, why is it that you like mango instead of apple? So you probably can say that, oh, because mango is very fleshy. It has very fleshy meat, and I like it juicy. Whereas apples, they are a bit more dry. So something like that. We need more details. Okay. So remember, when we are doing comparison, you have to make sure that it is being very clear enough. Clear. Okay. So hopefully through this lesson, you'll be able to understand process skills better, and hopefully you'll be able to improve better the next time round. Okay, so I hope you enjoy the video thus far, and hope to see you soon. Bye.